All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Fist-Dented Christians. Dustin and DJ here, and this week we have a special guest, Colby, with us. He's been a friend of mine for probably about 15, 16 years. We talk a lot about brokenness on this channel and how you deal with it and all that, and Colby's been gracious enough to come on and talk about his own issues. He's currently in inpatient rehab at New Hope Center in Minneapolis. He's been in there for a month. He's got a wife and some kids, so we're just going to kind of kick it over to him right now and let him share his story, and DJ and I will fill in as we go along. So, Colby, welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm glad that you're here, man.
So am I.
It's a beautiful day.
It is.
It's a little
chilly,
but it's sunny.
It's sunny.
And it's not drizzling.
Yep.
So, and we're in the, I don't know what you would call this, the shed.
The man shed?
The mansion. Yeah,
Yep.
the man cave.
Yep.
The he shed.
Yep.
The he shed.
Yep.
And so I'm glad that you're here, man. So
am I.
I'm interested to hear what happened.
Well,
Why don't you tell us like the whole story?
well, ever since basically 13, 14, it's either been way over here to the left or way over here to the right.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't necessarily fit in with, my brother seemed to find good friends when he was littler. I didn't. I tend to fit into the bad crowd.
Sure.
Not to get into the whole life story, but got into trouble in my youth, got sent to Alaska, living with a pastor, and I figured if I lived with my uncle as a pastor, I might as well go to church. Church was right there on the property, and the first time I ever prayed, my dad was an alcoholic all his life. First time I ever prayed, I asked, Lord, if you exist, have my dad stop drinking. Like a test. I didn't know any better, right?
Right.
The very next day, I walk into the house, and Uncle Dave, Dave called up to Stuart, his brother, and said, sit down, Colby, your dad just poured out all of his alcohol, and he wants to recommit his life back to Christ. I go, well, if that ain't a slap in the face.
Wow. Holy crap.
So it was very evident.
Talk about deliverance, huh?
It was very evident from my first prayer that
Yeah.
Jesus Christ was very real to me. Very real to anybody. It was definitely real for me.
Wow, that's almost a miracle.
So ever since then, I've been either deep in addiction, or if I turn my life around, it's to Him, because I know He is the truth, the way.
Yep.
So, but as soon as I left Alaska and came back, I was right back to my old friends and what I knew.
Sure.
And I'd just been kind of in and out of treatment ever since. And it's been either 100% in the bottle now or 100% with Christ.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since 2003, it was basically drugs and addiction up until 2003, after coming back to Alaska. And then my dad introduced me to Metro Hope Ministries, and it worked. It worked, giving my life over to something where I didn't have to worry or take much control, and it taught me a way to let go of my thinking.
Sure.
And rely on something, because I'm broken. I'm shambles. My way does not work.
Yeah.
And I found this better way, and I started doing that, but it seemed like every 2 years I'd start to just grasp back my life.
Sure.
And my ways and my thinking. And after meth and drugs, I thought drinking socially would be okay.
Sure.
Well, that was a bunch of crap.
Yep.
And after drinking, life just became really bad. My dad ended up passing away, went to drinking.
Yep.
My mom never ever drank, and as soon as my dad was released from the situation, she started to drink.
Oh, okay.
And she basically drank herself to death.
Sure.
Wow.
That didn't help. Um, and eventually I went back to New Hope 2 years ago. Did really good for a year.
Yep.
About a year since I was probably back with you guys, and then once I started drinking, I don't want to be around any of this.
Sure.
I don't want to be held responsible or talk about it or anything. So
Yep.
boom. And it just got really bad this last time, and I basically had a week's vacation about a month and a half ago. Drank so bad, tried to wean myself off because I didn't want to go back to work Monday, just really bad. I ended up having a seizure and my heart stopped.
Oh shit.
My wife had to do CPR in front of the kids.
Wow.
Oh my god, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's a lot I skipped out, but that's what got me back. I know where to run.
Yeah.
If there's one thing my dad taught me is run to Christ.
Sure.
But there's a lot I got to figure out.
Yeah.
And that's not even for the podcast. That's between you guys and I mean with you guys as
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
I need to be plugged in now. I need,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good that you're still willing to try. I think so many people get to the point where they don't want to try anymore, or people who don't struggle with addiction think, oh, well, what the hell's rehab going to do? You've been in there 5 times already. What the hell's the 6th time going to do? It's like, well, maybe it does nothing, but you know what else does nothing? Doing nothing. So I might as well try something. It's better, and that's been something that DJ and I talk about pretty consistently on the channel, is just try something, do something, get consistent with something. If you tried 10 things and they didn't work, try the first thing again. Maybe you're in a different spot and the first thing didn't work 5 years ago, but it works now. Who knows? So at least from my perspective, I admire that you're willing to continue trying and not give up, because
Not only that, it's just when I was back out there with quotations, God would not leave me alone. It was a constant tap on the shoulder, like you know the right way, you know the truth.
Yep.
You can't
Let's go.
unring the bell.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So obviously, once you're faced with death and you know the truth, it was a very easy decision.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, would you say that's kind of your rock bottom?
Yes. You know what? It's funny is this last time I was very, very much a functioning alcoholic. I was going to work and I was doing what I had to do to maintain. I mean, I'd go home, drink, pass out, repeat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Say hi to the kids, maybe cook dinner, and that was about it.
Sure.
And I kept asking God, I'm like, I don't see a rock bottom here.
Sure.
So I don't know. Well, I found it. Just my kitchen floor.
Yep.
I almost bit my tongue in half. I mean, they had to intubate me for a day.
Sure.
Yeah. That was my wake up call.
Yeah.
And I can't necessarily say if anything's different this time around.
Sure.
But like you're saying, 5-6 times, each time I go back, I learn something not to do.
Right.
And God's pointing that out slowly but surely now. That I'm a very selfish human being.
Yeah.
When I'm walking my way
Sure.
with my thoughts, and the more I get out of myself, the better I am.
Sure.
The better I am, and there's so many principles in that good book called the Bible that teach me that
Yeah.
it helps so much when I wanted to.
Right. Yeah, and it's weird for me because, like I said, I've known you for so long. For me to hear that you're selfish seems weird to me, because you've always been somebody that is willing to share with people and support and love. So yeah, it's weird to me for me to hear you admit that, but I can see it once you explain it. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But it's so weird how your personality can change when you're dealing with that. any type of addiction makes you do things that when you're not dealing with the addiction you wouldn't normally do. And yeah, it's
Absolutely.
you know, it's very interesting.
I was reading. I have a daily walk Bible, and my mom, she's like, you should read it from start to finish. And I'm like, I like the New Testament, but I don't know if I really care for the Old. But you know what? I'll give it a shot. So I picked up on March 16th or something, and I've been reading it every day. And yesterday, I'm in Kings, and yesterday was kind of, long story short, because Kings is about Solomon, who was the son of David and Goliath, right? And Solomon became like the wisest, most rich king in the history of the world. Knew everything, had all of God's favor.
Yeah.
Until he started meeting, he had 300 wives, and some of these wives worshipped other gods.
Sure.
And so, because he was in love with some of these other wives, he started worshiping other gods. And that's when his whole shit started falling apart. Because God said to him, like, if you follow me, I'll give you everything you want. I'll give you the world, the riches, the acclaim, the wisdom. And he was doing that for, I don't know, I think he was king for 40 years. He built a temple in Jerusalem, just this altar to God.
Yeah.
And then he started falling by the wayside. And so the little message in the yesterday was sitting on the fence. And when you were talking about kind of all the way over that way and then all the way over this way, it feels like it's just, and I know that too, like that imbalance. Like, one day in my mind, I'm way over here, but I know that God's ringing my bell over here. And so you're sort of like going back and forth, which takes so much energy, even just thought energy, right? And so sitting on the fence is a dangerous thing. And I feel like that as addicts, or even just as people who struggle, we kind of are on the fence sometimes, and we just kind of fall forward towards our own selfish stuff, and then we fall back. And I think the trick is to kind of like, I don't know, not exist in the middle, but yeah, exist in the middle. Not on the fence, though. I feel like
Sure.
the God wants us to get off the fence and just be in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're saying in terms of, and it sounds like you've had some fucking tragedy, right? I mean, losing your dad and then losing your mom. And it's funny you said that about your dad and then your mom, because I always think, like, am I going to fall off the wagon when my dad finally passes away? Because he's ill. He's got Alzheimer's. And I always just kind of walk myself through that, Colby. Like, how am I going to react? And I don't have a super relationship with my father. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know how I'm going to respond to that. I feel like I've made my peace with him,
Yeah.
But when we go through tragedy and hardship, it's like, well, I don't want to hurt anymore, right? And I just need to slow down my brain. I don't know if you're like me, Colby, but like, I create, my girlfriend calls it bad movie narratives, where I just create these own realities in my head. And Dustin, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Where we're always kind of like going and going and going in our head. And then sometimes for me, I just need to, when I just drank just to slow that down or to just drown it out,
Yep. Yeah.
Can you relate to that at all?
Self-medicating, and the sad thing is it works for that brief second.
It does.
It does, but then eventually you're medicating from the medication.
Right. Yeah.
At least me.
Sure.
Yeah, I know exactly that feeling.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I mean, and there's no judgment here, because listening to you talk, it's like, oh man, I know exactly that kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like I'm going to be sober for a while. And I hope that when you came to visit us that first time, I hope that didn't trigger anything, because that was done with just pure, like, we want to be in fellowship with you, know?
No.
And I don't want you to like, oh, those fuckers are way over here. Like, they're fine. I'm fucked up. We're all fucked up, right? I don't know when I'm going to start drinking again or if I ever will, but today I'm sober, right? Right now I'm sober. I choose to be that right now.
Yeah.
And hopefully I choose to be that the rest of the day. That's all we got is just right now. And that's what I'm kind of talking about, is not thinking about if I'm going to drink again or what happened in my past, but like right now,
Yeah.
I can choose to be sober.
Yeah.
And it's better. It is.
Yeah.
And so when you leave, I want to get your phone number so we can text, so you can reach
Absolutely.
out to me. Right?
Absolutely.
Because you need to start surrounding yourself with people who get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, you probably have people that get it, but you mentioned that you kind of have a bad crowd, and maybe you need to start building up a good crowd. You know?
Yeah, you know what's amazing is I have no excuses when it comes to support.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm very well loved, supported, and blessed. It's unbelievable, but I choose just to sit in my self-pity sometimes and get away from that thinking, that racing brain. Also, the way God works is it's a slow burn, I feel like, in a sense. Getting rid of the impurities and all this junk. It doesn't happen as fast as I want it to. So when it doesn't happen, I'm like the children of Israel getting out of Egypt. It's just you get out in that desert and you're like, I want to go back to Egypt. At least I had a hut there.
Right.
I had food.
Yeah.
Even though God's supplying everything.
Yeah.
It just may not look the way you want it to.
Yeah.
Have you done any 4-step stuff yet? Or like written down like an inventory of?
Yep. Starting to.
Okay. That's hard, isn't it?
Yep. And then I went to my counselor, my one-on-ones there, and he goes, "Oh, you're doing the steps by yourself?" Nope.
Sure.
So I'm like, okay, fine. So he definitely got to get a mentor or sponsor.
Well, if you ever need somebody to, because when I did that, I did the same thing. I wrote down a list of all of my lies, and all of my personal defects, and I read them to another person. And it was hard, but it was also just so cathartic. Like, I felt so much better. And in that moment, I will never forget, it was in a parking lot of a park in Woodbury in a van. And from that moment forward, I kind of learned the value of being vulnerable, and you just got to just surrender all that shit and just be vulnerable and say, yep, you know what? I've been telling this particular lie my entire life because it made me look better in front of people.
Yep.
And that's not true, right? I mean, just dismantling all of the bullshit, right?
Yep. So my biggest fear now is not catching something. I feel like I'm doing the same thing I did 2 years ago in treatment. And I'm very honest. I want to pour everything out there, but it didn't work, right? So that's a big fear, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
But I don't know if I'm doing anything wrong right now. I feel like I'm searching myself. I'm finding people I did wrong, and I want to talk to
Make
them
amends.
about it. Yes, and all the right things. But I think it just comes down to like taking my self-will back. When I leave treatment or when I get back out in the busy world, or I don't know. I'm taking my time though this time to really just sit down, slow down, and just be at peace.
Well, and I think it'll be important for you to find people that have, like DJ, that have gone through exactly or as close to exactly as possible what you've gone through. Because you can have all the love and support you need, but if people don't necessarily understand the exact problems, then the love is good, but the support, other than loving you and not hating you, there's no other type of support available. And I know some of the people in your circle because we have some of the same friends, and they don't deal with addiction, so it's hard for them to really understand what you're going through. And I find that with like my eating, I talk to people and somebody that is average weight, and they're like, I totally know what you mean. I ate an extra 3 cookies, and I'm like, I eat a box of cookies and then I want more cookies and then I want Mountain Dew and then I want a cheeseburger. So don't tell me about your extra 3 cookies. And they love me and they support me, but
Don't understand.
they don't understand that just like I had a last night or the night before, I had some little mini donuts in my room, and just for like 2 hours, it just was like gnawing at me to eat them, eat them, and I wrestled with it, and finally I gave in because I'm just like, I can't fucking do this anymore. But those type of people don't understand, like they don't get it that like for 2 hours you can sit and wrestle with eating something, like just don't eat it. It's like, no, it's not how it works.
Nope.
It just fucking gnaws and it just until you find some way to distract yourself and it passes, or you give into it. And I couldn't find any way to distract myself, so I gave into it. So I think that, yeah, there's certainly people in your life that love you and support you no matter what, but you need to find people that know how to support you.
Well, that's awesome. And I also want to add another thing, that because I think I know what you mean when you said, like, you have the people. I have the people too, but I don't go to them like when I need them.
Oh, sure.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And like, I work with a bunch of dentists, and I have a bunch of people in my life that are not addicts. And I know I could pick up the phone and give them a call if I'm having a bad day or if I'm struggling, but I don't. I don't do it. I kind of just and you know this about me. I just kind of rest in my own crap, you know, and I marinate in it. And then it gets to be so much that, you know, maybe you do this with your wife, I do it with my girlfriend, that it'll all come out like, you know, when I probably, the healthier thing is to maybe just reach out to another person who's in recovery because they do get it, rather than, you know, my girlfriend who's like, what the hell, where's this coming from?
Right.
You know? And I need to be better at that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not sure if that's kind of what you meant, but it's hard to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It is, and then usually by that time I'm on the other side of the fence.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So it's easy to do it now.
Right.
And another, I do very well in controlled environments. So it's after treatment. It's after that where I feel like I need to indulge myself. Oh, I don't need to go to a meeting. I worked hard this week.
Sure.
I stopped doing what gets me there.
Yeah. Yeah, the momentum is hard to keep up sometimes.
Yes.
Well, in a way, though, Colby, you don't really have a choice. I mean, that's why I said at the beginning of this meeting, is this a first step meeting? Because, you know, my life has become unmanageable.
Yeah.
I would say being in a seizure and your heart stopping on the kitchen floor in front of your kids, that sounds to me like your life was not very manageable at that time.
Nope.
And so whether it's a matter of you want to or not, I don't think that's really the question. I think the statement, I think it's ice.
Okay.
I think that you don't really have a choice. I didn't have a choice. Like, if I continued to drink, I would probably be a year in jail. And I don't want a fucking year in jail. Like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
I probably am going to kill somebody with my car because that's my jam. Like, I drink and then I think I can drive. And I know a lot of recovery people they get that. So I don't have a choice. And I know, like you, like if I started drinking again, it's going to be bad. Because I've done that. I've done the Christ is my entire life, and then something changes like 2 years later, and then I'm like, oh, I got this. Yeah. And then it just gets worse. Like every time, like the last time I started drinking again, I think I probably blacked out 1 out of every 3 times, and it just got bad. And then the next day, you probably understand this, you wake up and you're like, oh shit, like who do I need to apologize to now? Because you know bad shit happened. You know you said something. You know that there was something, right?
Yeah. My wife consistently was, do you know what you did last night?
Oh God.
Do you know what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, And eventually at first I'd fight it, like, no, I didn't do that.
Yeah, me too.
No. And then eventually I'm like, yep, I'm a loser.
Right.
Where's the bottle?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But see, that's the thing is that if you stop doing that, then you can start getting some distance from that guilt and shame and all that bullshit, because I know exactly what that feels like.
Yep.
Like, oh fuck, like who is that? Who was that? Like, I know it's me because I'm in my body, but like, why would I say that, or why would I do that? Or, and man, I suck. Like, fucking A, what's wrong with me? You know, and you just carry that around for a few days because we feel like crap for a couple days, right?
Yeah.
Mentally, physically, and then by day 3, I don't know about you, but by day 3 or 4,
Hour 6.
yeah, 3 or 4, I started feeling pretty good again.
Oh.
And then I'm like, okay, it's Friday. I worked hard this week. Like, all right, let's go. You know, and then that cycle would start all over again.
Yeah.
And you were talking about the eating. I kind of feel like you should work some steps.
It would probably benefit me.
You should,
Yeah.
you know, because it's your higher power, which for us I think is Christ, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But it's you know, recognizing that you're powerless over food,
Right.
and your life has become unmanageable.
Right.
Turning over your will and care to a higher power,
Yeah.
right? And then sitting down and doing an inventory of your shit,
Sure.
and then sharing that with another person.
Yeah.
You know, when you're talking about those donuts, I'm thinking to myself, because I read the big book a little bit yesterday, and it was talking about this guy wanted a drink. As soon as he got out of treatment, he wanted a fucking drink. And he's like, you know what? I got nothing to lose, so I'm just going to try this praying thing. And he did. He got down on his knees and he just started praying, and he felt better. He goes, I never believed in God. Like Jesus, none of that. But I just gave it a shot. And I'm thinking, like, maybe when we have these moments, we need to pray. Like, we just need to stop and pray. Like, remember. And that requires that we choose to go to God every day.
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is real. Like, this is easy. I can go make coffee and drink it. Like, I'm in control of this.
Yeah.
But, like, sitting down and praying, it's like this ethereal, but it isn't.
Right.
If you do it enough, it starts to encroach in your life, and it becomes everything. You kind of ooze it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He talks about drawing near to me, and I'll draw near to you.
Yes, it's a dance. You got to meet them halfway.
Yeah.
Same in marriages. You got to meet halfway.
Yeah.
And that's kind of going back to what you said. That's where I'm selfish.
Yeah.
That's where I think I deserve time to myself, and
Sure.
I don't have that option.
Because you got kids and a married wife. And...
No, I don't have the option to skip a meeting anymore.
Oh.
Or skip church.
Yeah.
That's where I get selfish. Like, I worked hard, I'm tired, I can go home, play some Call of Duty,
Sure.
and go to bed.
Yeah.
And I don't have that luxury anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot.
Right now. I mean, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
What do you mean you don't have that luxury? Like, you have to go to meetings and you have to, that's fine. You can do that. But when you're done with that, like, do you have to go to meetings every day now? Or, like, what's the deal?
No. Well, right now, it's classes and treatment.
Okay.
But
right.
when I get out and start working,
Yeah.
and when I say I start to take back and be selfish,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. Like, I think I deserve to, like, take a week off, where I don't think I can do that anymore.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I need to stay plugged in.
Yeah.
No
Then-
matter how
then-
I feel.
Okay. Well, then that's what you do. It's almost like I got to exercise today. Like, if I don't, you know, I'm not going to feel good about myself. So it's me. Okay, I see what you're saying. Or, you know what, I need to eat healthy today.
Right.
But I don't really want to.
Right.
No, that's where we can't do it on our own.
Right.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
Yeah, well, kind of along those lines is, in all of my research on losing weight and keeping it off, and I have a friend that she has her master's in nutrition, and she's incredibly smart, and so I talk with her about it, and the success rate of whatever metric it is, it's losing 20 or 30 pounds and keeping it off for a year, or losing 40 pounds and keeping it off for 2 years. The success rate is something like 1% of people who lose 20 or 30 pounds and keep it off for a year. So at first I get really, or at first I got really down and depressed about that. Like, well, I'm not going to be in the 1%. Are you freaking kidding me? The only 1% that I'm in is failure. I've never succeeded at a 1% rate. But then I started to try and think about it in a different way, and it kind of gave me, knowing that it was going to be that hard, gave me some relief for when I do struggle. Like, it's okay that I struggle with it. It's okay that I'm not perfect, because it is damn difficult. And so I think with your guys' situation with substance issues, it's something that, yeah, you got to recognize every day that it's a choice, like you were saying earlier. And for me, I'm going to have to get to that place where I recognize this ain't going away. I'm 400 pounds. It is highly likely that for the rest of my life I will struggle with wanting to binge eat all the time. And that sometimes is overwhelming, but other times it lets me know the monster I'm facing, and I can be better prepared for it. Hopefully I get to a point where I don't take my foot off the gas, where it's every day I'm okay, this is my battle every day. And every day, everybody has their battles every day. This is my battle to make me a healthier, happier person. And what steps do I need to take to achieve victory? And so I think that touches on, what you guys are saying is you can't go, well, I had a good week at work, so I can let loose on Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're no different.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have a different demon.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
For some people that I know, it's porn.
Right.
For some people, it's shopping. So some people I know, they have just entirely too much shit.
Yeah.
And they just can't stop. And I guess if it makes us unhappy, then we need to figure out what we can do to not feel that way.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Having some mini donuts, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
And for me though, having one beer, there's something wrong with that. Like so it is a little bit different.
Right. Yeah.
I can't have just one mini donut.
Right.
I need to have 12 of them.
Yep. I need to have the whole fucking bag.
Yeah. And then I'm going to probably drive and go get more.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's where it gets too much.
Yep. Yeah. All right, well, we're at a good stopping point here. We're 32 minutes in, so we can break now, and we'll certainly have Colby back on, have him hang
3
out.
songs.
Yeah, do 3 songs.
3 songs, sit down.
Yep.
3 songs that change your life.
Yep. Yep.
It's hard.
Yeah. It's we're gonna have Nathan on probably next weekend.
Oh,
he
is
said.
it? Okay.
So yeah, we'll wrap this up saying thanks guys for listening. Whatever your battle is today and every day, we hope that you focus on taking steps to get better. Whatever that is, for us it's Jesus and being accountable. For you it might be Muhammad and taking some alone time, but whatever it is, we hope that you guys stay healthy. Thanks for listening.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.